Can trusting your intuition really help you build a successful business? In this episode, I'm sitting down with Carol Surbey, business coach and strategist, to talk about blending practical business strategies with intuitive decision making. Carol shares how she helps entrepreneurs simplify business growth, trust their instincts, and make decisions that align with their bigger vision without getting stuck in perfectionism or overthinking. We dive into manifestation, trusting the process, and how small adjustments lead to massive results over time. If you're an entrepreneur looking to scale with more ease, clarity, and alignment, this is the conversation you need to hear. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money Podcast, the show where we tackle the taboo topics of money and manifestation. I'm your host, Jenny Schultz, former 9-to-5 grinder who ditched the status quo and went all in on creating a life I love. Yes, I use manifestation. Yes, I took action. And yes, I created a 7-figure net worth before turning 40. Every week, I'll bring you inspiring stories with money mavens and manifestation masters. From learning how to make more, save more, and grow your wealth to unlocking the power of manifesting your dream life. I am so excited to play in this space with you. Let's jump into creating a life you love. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money Podcast, Carol.
Oh, thank you, Jen. I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm pumped to have you on the show today, and I would love for you to share with the listeners just who you are and what your story is.
I'll be happy to do that. So hello, everyone. My name is Carol Surbey, and I am with Carol Surbey Coaching and Consulting. I'm actually a business coach that works North America wide, Canada and US, and I help entrepreneurs take the mystery out of business and just make it simple. I'm really well known for my straight talk. I'm really well known for my supportive approach. And I'm able to help entrepreneurs understand strategic insight with hands-on practicality, and then really being able to delve into their intuition, their gut feelings, to make sure the alignment of what they're creating not only aligns with the market, but aligns with who you are and how you want to show up. My mantra is make success simple, which really reflects my promise to you to cut through the clutter, empower my clients, and help them take confident action.
Lovely. So what inspired you to work with entrepreneurs?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur myself. So in 1995, I lived in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and my husband and I together, we started a specialty concrete company down there that we ran until we sold it in 2019. Even as a kid, I never quite played by the rules in school. Not that I was a troublemaker, but I was always that kid that asked, how come we're doing it this way? Isn't there a better way to do it? And that way of showing up has been prevalent throughout my whole life. So it only makes sense that I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. And having that curious question, to pose those questions and actually articulate them, can make a huge difference in the life trajectory of being able to ask yourself that question and others, because I find so often we get caught in a loop of just following, oh, here's the way we do it, so therefore we're going to continue doing it this way, right? So to have people like you who are challenging the questions of why are we doing it this way?
Why? Yeah. And just to touch on what you just said, I feel as though there's so many people out there, to your point, right? We're put in a rote school system, we're put in a rote college or university system, and we're put in a rote job, whatever it is. There's a lot of people out there that if you ask them, what do you want? They couldn't even answer that question for you. They are so removed from their own sense of self-empowerment. They're so removed from what really lights them up. And again, I'll come back to the intuition piece. They're removed from what that gut inner knowing and that gut calling is saying. And as I continue to coach clients, I currently have about a stack of about 30 clients that I'm actively coaching. One of the biggest challenges they have is that clarity of vision, right? What is it that I want? And here's what I noticed is, a client say in the first 1 to 3 months with me, they might come out and go, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this. And, 6 months later, we'll review that and he'll go, okay, well, this needs to change and this needs to change. So the perfection in knowing what we want is also something that gets in our way, right? As we take steps towards what we want, the path is revealed to us, right?
Mhm.
So imperfect action or progress over perfection is what I'm looking for from the people that I'm coaching. Because what I do know for sure is that when you're first starting out in your business or when you're first starting out with a goal, you just have to start. It really is that simple. If you're waiting for the perfection of what that vision is, you're never going to go. And because that perfection is revealed along the pathway. And that's where, not that this call is about coaching, but that's where coaching really comes in, is a coach can really help you see your blind spots and help you see what you're not seeing. Even just as an example today, someone was walking me through their process and I said, so what's the problem with this process? And he's like, I don't know. I'm screen sharing and I've highlighted it in red, right? Like he says, what, I'm still in it? I'm like, yeah, you're still in it. I said, if you could get out of this process from an entrepreneurial and a business owner point of view, how much time would that actually save you? And he thought about it. He says, Carol, if I could get somebody else to do that, that'd probably save me 7 hours a week. Right. And that clarity was just like a wow to him. And then when we went back and looked at his vision, we said, okay, well, what could you do with that 7 hours a week? He was like, oh, okay, this thing has to change a little bit. I could probably do a little bit more here. When we talk about the power of manifestation, manifestation is just a dedication to something you say that you want. So sometimes that dedication comes up in, I want to say affirmations, but that's not what I'm meaning. It's the visualization techniques, right? It's the anchoring in, it's the writing down. Again, there's the vision for your business, right? That isn't that what we're doing? We're visualizing, we're anchoring, we're writing down. And then it's the consistent review of it. Is this right? Do I need to tighten it up, tighten it up, tighten it up, tighten it up, right? And then it's the action behind, okay, what's truly within my control and within my power to be able to take the next steps to what it is I say I want.
Yeah.
That was a lot of words.
But that was good because you framed something in there that I haven't really come across on the show yet. And I think so many of us get hung up on or fixated on creating the ideal life, that perfect life, that dream life, that we don't go into it going, okay, here's like kind of what I want. I'm going to start going kind of towards what I want. And then that perfect life is going to reveal itself by going through the steps. And I think you can be more discerning. Oh, I didn't like that. Okay. So we're going to pivot this way a little bit. Oh, I really like that. So now I'm going to pivot that. So instead of starting with the ultimate clarity of what the end goal is, you're saying start with pretty much in the direction you want to go and hold that, and you're going to find the clarity and the perfection as you're moving towards that mark.
Have you ever been on a highway and you're not really sure which exit is yours? You know it's coming. You know it's coming. You trust that it's coming, right? And so you just go on the highway and you're driving, driving, driving. You're looking at the sign, and you're like, oh, no, that's not it, right? Oh, no, no, that's not it. Oh, 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 it's here, it's here, it's here. And then you can make the choice, right? Here's your choice point. Do we continue going on the highway or do we take the exit that's feeling right, that's saying all the right words, that's glowing in the color that we like, whatever it is, right? It's the same thing. You have to get on the highway first,
Yeah.
if that's a good analogy. And the one thing I want to point out is you used a negative. And I want people to understand that the universe doesn't understand negatives. Okay. So if you say, I don't want this, which is what your example was, the universe doesn't hear don't, right? The universe hears, I want this.
Yeah.
So if you're fixating enough on something you don't want, you're going to get it, right? So the trick there is the awareness around, oh, I'm saying something in a negative. How can I flip this? Flip it on its head. So I'm actually stating something in the positive. If I don't want that, then maybe what I need to do is I say, I want that, and just leave that alone, right? Don't step into it. So, yeah, if we wait for perfection, we get into that analysis paralysis. And then what it is we want can't unfold to us. When you think back when you were 5 years old and you just had a fight with your mom and dad, or you just got grounded, I wish I was an adult so that I could make my own decisions, right? Imagine being 5 and then just being whoop, 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 teleported into a 32-year-old, right? You'd be unable to handle life. So we need that. Think about the path towards what you want is those opportunities to grow into the pieces that we didn't even know was part of the path.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
That really makes sense. Do you have any tools or suggestions from people who know what they don't want on how to hold the vision of flipping that from that negative into the positive and holding on to that instead of just fixating on what they don't want?
Yeah, the first thing is the awareness, right? If you hear yourself talking negative based language, we got to clean that shit up. We live in a cold climate that has heavy winters. And if we end up saying, I don't want to move in the winter, I don't want to move in the winter, guess what? You're going to end up moving in the winter, right? So, first of all, is the awareness. And I think listening to podcasts like this, listening to these types of conversations are really helpful in creating that awareness around us. And then I think we're at the point now. I'm not really sure to how spiritual I should get on this call because I don't want to scare some of your listeners. But I think from the 3D to the 4D to the 5D worlds, we're really at the point where there's some of us, and I know you and I are two of those people that are actually working in 5D, right? We're actually working within the matrix. And just like that movie, The Matrix, that scene where they see all the letters and numbers and stuff, crazy. I actually saw a TikTok the other day. I know who refers to a TikTok, right? But I actually saw a TikTok the other day where someone had like a laser level, a red laser level on a wall. Now, it had nothing to do with what levels do, but what they noticed, and here's the awareness piece. What they noticed is when they came in close and they looked at that light on the wall, the light was actually dancing. The light actually had movement in it, right? And I saw that and I thought, oh, there's the matrix. There's the matrix revealed in the red light of the laser. Okay. So if we are aware that the universe is conspiring for us for what we want, there's a certain number of us that are now capable of rewriting the code. And I know you speak to this quite often. And I think you actually did a Facebook Live not too long ago that spoke very much to this line of thinking of, I rewrite the code. Yes, you have to verbalize it. You have to create the vibration in the universe so that the universe can align for what you want, right? We're all at various stages of that. So knowing that time is now, and really, I hear the paradox in this, really starting to trust the process,
Mm-hmm.
because we've been raised to not trust the process, right?
Yeah.
We've been raised that the process isn't necessarily there to support us, right? It's there to support someone else in some other way, but not necessarily there to support us. And if we look at ourselves, you can use the terms as a spiritual being. I'm almost even more likely to now consider myself as a coding engineer as opposed to a spiritual being. So we're starting to see the lines of technology and spirituality and science all starting to converge, right? So yes, we're spiritual beings, but I'm a spiritual being that now understands that I can engineer my own code.
Hmm. That is a really intriguing way to look at it. Because, yeah, in manifestation, by essentially putting out there what you want, that is, yeah, you're like rewriting the code. You are trying to shape your reality that you are forming. And you said in there, trust. And every time I hear that, I'm like, why is it so hard to trust? Trust our own intuition, trust the way we're feeling in certain situations. Usually we get that yes or no, whether it's aligned with who we are, what we want to do, or even sometimes it's just that knowing of, okay, I think I want to do this thing, but I'm having a strong no right now that I shouldn't actually be doing this thing. Learn to trust ourselves. And that should be, to me, we should be able, that should be first and foremost, but I find that
Here's,
kind of comes last.
here's a really fun test. Here's
Okay.
a really fun exercise in learning to trust yourself. Okay. You know about muscle testing, right? And I'm sure many of your listeners know about muscle testing. But for those of us that don't, if we were to hold our arm out to the side and have somebody press down on our arm and we're trying to hold it strong, and I'm describing this for your listeners, if we say something that is untrue, our muscles give way and our arm will fall. If we say something that is true, our strength holds. And that same pressure, we can resist the pressure and our arm will stay held out beside us. I don't do muscle testing that way. I actually act as a pendulum myself. I can do it sitting or standing, and I can even just do it in my mind. I don't actually even have to physically do it. But I will ask myself, show me a yes, and I'll just wait for my body to respond. And generally, not always, but generally, my yes is falling forward and my no is falling back, right? And it makes sense. I'm being attracted to or repelled from, right? So here's a really fun exercise. Next time you're in the mall and you're tempted to go into a store, oh, I'm just going to go browse to see if there's something in here. Stand at the door and ask yourself, is there anything in this store that I need or is of value to me? And wait and see how your body responds. Now, the fun part is if you get a yes, go in and be open to whatever that thing is to revealing itself to you. If it's a no, say thank you, because we always have to say thank you, and say, I'm just going to test this to build that trust in myself, and then go into the store and have a look around and see if it was right. I do this at Christmas for my Christmas shopping.
Fascinating.
I'll go to each store. I have my list, right? Physical or in my mind. Generally, it's on my phone. And I'll say, is there anything in this store that is on my list or would be of benefit to anybody that I'm buying Christmas gifts for? And if the answer is yes, I'll go in. And 100% of the time there is. And if the answer is no, I don't even bother. Saves me lots of time on Christmas shopping. But it's a fun, non-serious way to test,
Yeah.
right? To just because we grow up in a society, and I think that this is changing. I really do. But I'm Gen X, right? You're on the verge of Gen X, millennial, right? Older millennial. We were really raised, sit down, shut up. We're going to tell you what to believe, right? As a person doing what I do now, I think back of all the stuff that I was taught in school and how inaccurate so much of it truly is. But again, it was what I hope it was what they knew at the time. I'm really trying to trust that we weren't deceived. But
Right.
right? So I hope that it's all that they knew at the time. And, here we are 35, 40 years later, we now know better.
Mhm.
We now know more, right? So that journey is the same. But, as we're going through, when we talk about the chakra systems, right? The chakra systems are alive and active when a child is born, right? And whenever I see a brand new baby, I'm always sending my aura out and they're always laughing and giggling at me because they see the colors, right? They see the colors and I do that on purpose, right? But as children grow up through the system, And they're told, sit down, shut up, be quiet, do your work. You have this problem, you're ADHD, you're not capable, you're this, not that, whatever. By the time they're 7 years old, they have been told that who they think they are isn't trustworthy, that society and teachers and parents and doctors tell them who they are, right? So, in general, a child's chakra energetic system is shut down by the time they're 7 years old. So, we wonder why we don't trust ourselves. Because everybody up until the point in time that we were 7 told us that we weren't trustworthy. You're only 5. What do you know? Right? And if you're fortunate enough, that's not your mom and dad. Maybe it's another kid on the playground. Maybe it was your school buddy. And I'm not judging those people. They're not bad people. They just don't know what they don't know. So again, coming back to the awareness, realizing as a 5-year-old, I let my 8-year-old school buddy tell me that I didn't know what I was doing. And I've now carried that through to me being 40. Time to change my perspective. Again, time to rewrite my code.
Yeah, it's a continual rewriting. Like, it's not like you're like, okay, I've rewritten it, I've put in the work, I spent all month getting really clear on what I want. It's an adopted lifestyle that you choose to embody, to
Yeah.
always be making those decisions, to always, like you said at the beginning of this chat, be questioning things. Why
Mhm.
are we doing it this way? To always allow yourself to pivot into what feels more expansive, into what you're feeling called to, just to adopt that lifestyle of, I don't even know what word would come with that.
Yeah. Trust.
Trust. Yeah.
Yes. And awareness that I know more now than I knew 5 years ago, right? So, how do we wrap this back into business? Me being a business coach,
Mhm.
right? So many people get locked up in those stories. Well, my 8-year-old buddy told me when I was 5 that I couldn't add. So that means today that I can't touch QuickBooks Online because I can't add, right? And all the subsequent stories that come to that, right? Coming back to, well, I can't add story, right? But I want to start this business. So really leaning into, so what is it that I think that I need? Well, if I can't add and I want to start a business, I should probably have a bookkeeper, right? So what are the logical next steps that would come after what you want? Again, going back to the highway analogy, we don't always know what we're going to need, but if we're watching the road signs, we'll go, oh, I need that. I need ice cream. I need a Slurpee. I don't know, whatever. And that is where so many people get burnt out in their lives, is they're trying to appease what their old stories are. As the new stories try to come through, they're pushing them down and pushing them down, pushing them down. No, there's only one way to get to grandma's house on the highway. Meanwhile, you could take any one of 4 different exits.
From a business perspective, I find that you would have just a unique perspective. You're dealing with people who are in the hustle, bustle, and grind of building out a business, yet you have this strong pull to your intuition. Do you find yourself using that a lot with your clients?
If I told you I spent all day, every day channeling, would that surprise you?
No.
Because here's the thing, I'm in these intimate business relationships with these people. They are, as a CEO in a business, you don't necessarily take your business home and talk to your spouse about it. You might some of the superficial stuff, but some of those deep down problems that are really bothering you, you probably go, I can't put this on my spouse. I can't put this on my children. I don't have a business partner. So they carry this stuff. So when people finally decide to get a business coach, it is truly that place. And I'm bound by the rules and regulations of the International Coaching Federation, right? The non-disclosure details of that contracted agreement, that I don't speak to specifics about my clients to anybody else. And finally, they have a place to share these heavy, heavy, heavy loads, be it operational burnout or just not pricing right that's causing financial problems in the business? Or how do I level up my leadership? I want to bring in more teams. And giving yourself permission to do that. I want to add what I feel as though is a very important piece here. And I'm not really sure how it fits, but I'm called to add it. So I'm going to trust that. Is that when CEOs actually look back on the purpose of their business, why they're in business, very often it doesn't even correlate to what the business does. The business is just the tool for us to actually achieve our purpose. Let me give an example. I had one client, he will remain unnamed, and his purpose was to make enough money that he could afford to give it away. Now, upon initially hearing that, some of your listeners are going to go, oh, what a greedy guy, right? Ooh, so corporate, right? So what if I added a layer of knowledge that the reason he wanted to do this was because his daughter would be going to university in another year, and he wanted to be able to pay for a full ride university away apartment, everything for her, so that she could get the base knowledge that she needed to get for her to be successful in her life. Is that greedy? Think not. His mother, who was aging, in order for her to stay in her home, she was going to need some minor renovations done. And he wanted to do that for her. Is that greedy? The local baseball team, they needed $500 for new jerseys. If he so chose, he wanted to be able to support that baseball team. He wanted to be able to do philanthropic work. His business was his tool for him to make the money so that he could live out his passion and what he wanted to be, which was to be philanthropic. So when we push aside, oh no, I can't grow like that. I can't be a big business like that. My family says that those people are greedy. My family said, or my teacher told me that such and such and this, right? All of that shit just gets in your way. So I really encourage people to spend the time to check in with themselves, to do the walk, to do the drive, to sit in a coffee shop with headphones on, whatever your process is, right? To really start to allow those desires to start to come through you. Because at the other end of it, just like my client who wanted to be philanthropic, there's lots of really good work that can be done because you actually start to recognize what your unique desire is in this world and allow yourself to open to that. Is it going to be perfect? No. Do we expect perfection? No. Are we going to learn a lot? Oh yeah, it's a ride.
I think this segues beautifully into my favorite question, which is, what is your biggest advice that you could share for someone who's wanting to go out and create that life they love?
If you're going to honor anyone, honor yourself. And it's so many people will say, oh, well, I don't want my parents to feel disrespected. I didn't say disrespect your parent. I said honor yourself. And there's a personal power that comes with that. And if you really want to sit in what personal power feels like, I highly suggest that your listeners go and look up Amy Cuddy on YouTube. She is a power pose expert, and practice some of those power poses to really get comfortable in knowing what that feels like. When you start to honor yourself first, you're going to be forced to create some boundaries. Again, I'm not saying disrespect your parents. I'm saying you're going to be forced to create some boundaries. What might come of that is your parents, and I'm just using parents as an example, it could be anybody in your community. Your parents are going to test those boundaries, and that test might create a conflict. And how you navigate that conflict might be really scary because you don't want to lose those relationships. hopefully. Or maybe it's a really good opportunity to say, see ya. Sometimes we get what we don't know we wanted. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding, of course. Kind of. Right? So
Mhm.
honor yourself. In that honoring of yourself, you can now grow into the purpose, the reason why you've been put on this earth. And some people aren't going to like it, and some people aren't going to respect it. Right? So that's where you need to turn into yourself and respect yourself.
Mhm.
And trust the signs. If I'm going to use the parent example again, if your parents are bucking up against this, oh, well, we want to protect you. We want you safe. Like, don't get too big for your britches. How many of these sayings have you heard from your parents, right? Don't be a charlatan. You don't know how to show up like that. Not mine, right? Take it off.
Mm.
You know, say thank you. I appreciate that you're trying to love me, but I got this. Because that's all they're trying to do. They're
Yeah.
not trying to hold you back, generally. They're not trying to hold you back. They're not trying to keep you small. They're trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're the only one that can keep you safe. And the best thing to do is to lean into that gut feeling. I remember, just as a quick segue here, I used to run, and there was this really beautiful old gravel pit near my house, like 3 doors down, and it had a 1.5 kilometer trail around it. I would go there almost every day, take the dog, go for a run, whatever. One day, I'm into the park. I'm probably about 40 yards into the park, and I'm looking down this really long straight stretch with the trees growing up around it. Beautiful nature's tunnel, right? Gorgeous. I did it every day for the previous 4 years until this day. And I stopped dead in my tracks. I was running. I stopped dead in my tracks. And I looked down this beautiful long tree covered tree tunnel walkway. It was probably about 300 yards long. And I stopped dead in my tracks and I went, not today. And I turned around and I went home. I don't know what I avoided. I'll never know. But all I know is my gut said to me, not today. And I listened. Huge impact in my life? I don't know. I don't know what I avoided or not, but I just trusted. So hopefully some of what we talked about here today is helpful to your listeners to create some more awareness, right?
Mhm.
And when we don't honor ourselves and when we're trying to be good to everybody else and honor what they want for us and all of that life stuff, right? Again, that really comes down to creating burnout in us. I just can't show up in a way that feels good for me. I'm constantly giving to other people. And what does burnout create? It creates illness, it creates weight issues, it creates relationship issues, and there's probably a whole host of other things. So, as part of understanding burnout for your business community specifically, I will share with you a tool that I have. It's called the Business Burnout Recovery Checklist. Okay. And it's a way to help create clarity, create financial awareness, some leadership growth strategies, some self assessments, so that you can actually come back to yourself and start to really be aware of what is it that I want. Looking at some regular self-assessment pieces and recognizing that our path isn't perfect and to bring you back to those constant adjustments
Mhm.
as we have to go through. And as we continue to make those consistent adjustments through our progress, either in business or in life, we can apply this tool to both for sure. Small adjustments really truly lead to big results.
Yeah.
And I've found, and maybe you can speak to this, that as we consistently make small adjustments, say, as an example, we're trying to lose weight, and once a month we decide that we're going to either substitute or remove one thing from our diet, right? We're not doing this crash diet stuff anymore. We know better now. But we decided instead of ice cream, I'm going to eat yogurt. Instead of chocolate bars, I'm just not going to buy them. Like whatever it is, right?
It's
But what
chips
we
for me.
right?
Yeah.
Well, vinegar, thanks.
Yeah.
As we make these small adjustments, all of a sudden we start to notice, oh, my body feels better. Oh, I'm moving better. Oh, my joints aren't as sore. Oh, whatever the aha or the realization is. And at the end of that, it really is up to you what your comfort level is with the big result, right? Maybe we say, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. We get to 20 pounds. We'll go, oh, you know what? I could I'm enjoying this and I could maybe do another 10, right? So sometimes what we think is our final destination isn't, right? And I'm just using weight as the analogy because everybody understands it, right? But just to know that sometimes the more we show up, the more we're willing to make those consistent adjustments, the faster we reach the target. Actually, the bigger our lives can actually be, if that makes sense.
Well put. That's a really expansive way to end this. No matter what your end goal is, know that you can step forth from there too and go even bigger if you want. Where can listeners reach out to you and catch more of your goodness, Carol?
Yeah, so my website is Carol Surbey, carolsurbey.com. All those nuggets of wisdom and all my freebies and downloads are available there. And just as a sidebar, September of 2025, I'm putting together a summit for business leaders who want to bring more of the intuitive sense into how they show up and how they run their businesses. So I know it's a little bit down the road, but if you come over to my website, you get on my mailing list. As soon as we start to advertise for that, you can get involved in the summit and really lean into how to use intuition in business.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today, Carol.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Manifestation and Money podcast. If you're looking for ways to manifest more money and more abundance in your life, I invite you to join me in the Manifest More Moolah program. It would be you, me, and a small group of other equally cool humans meeting weekly in a Zoom room, exploring different ways to manifest more money and more abundance into your life. For more details, visit www.manifestationandmoney.com. Thank you for listening to the Manifestation of Money podcast. I truly, truly appreciate all of you for listening. Cheers to creating a life you love and the income streams to support it.